The scene opens in a forest. There is an odd bunny hopping around the bushes. Behind it, there is a little boy who is ready to catch. The boy hops in, but the bunny avoids him and it nags at the boy. The boy named LLOYD BELLADONNA touches his stomach. He is starving. Suddenly he is called by his brother, SHOMA, who managed to catch the enraged bunny. On the way home, LLOYD asks SHOMA about his journey. LLOYD wants to know the outside world like SHOMA. The deep-skinned boy states he must work harder so that he can invite LLOYD on an adventure. SHOMA then gives LLOYD a book. LLOYD happily accepts his gift. The scene switches to several years later. LLOYD, who is now a teenager, visits a house. He enters the house and meets Mary AZAMI. The girl is known as a witch from the east. AZAMI ignores when LLOYD greets her. She tells him a wizard can grant him anything as long as there is compensation. She tells him to leave, but LLOYD doesn't move. Finally, LLOYD admits he wants to be a soldier. Marie repeats her words and tells LLOYD to see the announcement board if he wants to be a knight. Marie is mad at him because he was mistaking her for the innkeeper. LLOYD then explains he is from COLIN village. Marie is surprised to hear that. LLOYD hands a crystal ball over. The ball emits a bright light and a figure of a girl named Alka appears. Immediately, Marie kneels before Alka, who turns out to be her master. Alka asks Marie to take good care of LLOYD. She states that LLOYD is a precious kid in his village. Marie agrees to her request nervously. Marie states she wants to ask something to Alka, but Alka tells her the figure in the crystal ball is recording. Marie is angry and yells at Alka until Alka tells her she is lying. A moment later, Alka disappears and Marie is mad at Alka, who keeps disturbing her. Marie gives in and allows LLOYD to use the room in the back of her house. LLOYD thanks her for her kindness. Marie is glad to see his good attitude. Suddenly, Alka appears from the wardrobe. She threatens her not to do anything to LLOYD. Marie is shocked to see her master suddenly appear in her house. Alka then explains that the crystal ball is a teleportation gate. Alka states LLOYD is cute, kind, and pure like an angel. Alka also states that she is offended because Marie called her a little old hag, and she puts a little misfortune curse on Marie. Right after Alka finished talking, Marie tripped and fell. Marie is angry because Alka used an ancient rune character for a small matter. Suddenly, threads in her dress are stuck in the table. The next morning, LLOYD cooked breakfast. Marie fell asleep on the table and LLOYD covered her with a blanket. LLOYD comes and greets her while bringing her breakfast. Marie is astonished because LLOYD is a good boy and his food looks delicious. Marie then asks LLOYD if he wants to be a soldier. LLOYD explains that he is the weakest boy in the village. He cannot even collect firewood or catch fishes. He also has to rest for a full day after sparring, but he still wants to be a soldier. He remembers a hero that appeared in the stories. Moreover, LLOYD states that whatever their dreams are, they won't know the result before they try. Marie then asks him if he knows about the entrance examination at AZAMI Magic Academy. Marie reminds him that the most important is the martial arts test. Hearing that, LLOYD becomes pessimistic as he feels weak. Moreover, it took him 6 days to reach the capital. Marie explains it is normal travel time with the train, but LLOYD explains he ran from his village to the capital, much to her surprise. Marie tells him that he has a lot of stamina, but LLOYD compares him with his grandfather that only needs 2 days to reach the capital. Marie asks him if he encountered any monsters. LLOYD tells her he only met common animals like giant lizards and fire grasshoppers. It surprises Marie even more, and she yells at him telling those animals are monsters. LLOYD thinks that the monster is a kind of demon lord, shocking her that she accidentally spilled her hot drink. LLOYD wipes her face, and it instantly makes her face smooth. LLOYD tells her he used a rune to clean anything. Marie is surprised that LLOYD can use the curse cleaning rune character. Apart from cleaning the face of freckles and spots, it can also lift the curse. Marie has learned for 3 years, but she still failed. LLOYD states besides the curse cleaning rune, he can only use rainfall magic. Hearing that, Marie feels useless even more. LLOYD goes to the capital, and he eavesdrops that the kingdom's enemy will summon monsters to the capital. Elsewhere, a hooded girl bumps into a nobleman. The man recognizes the girl as the Belt Princess. The rumor says the Belt Princess is going to enroll to be a soldier. The nobleman is pissed off by her reputation. The Belt Princess, called Selin Hemine, is ambushed by a giant grasshopper, and the monster has Selin cornered. Just then, LLOYD kicks the monster on its head and throws it away. He approaches Selin to help her and wipes her face, but she feels awkward because of that. They get to know each other and LLOYD leaves after that because he still has an errand to do. In the inn, Selin is thinking about LLOYD and it seems like she is catching feeling for him. She recalls how people bully her because of the belt on her head, and she is called the Cursed Belt Princess. The priest told her that her curse would be lifted by a strong person. Selen gets angry and pulls the belt off of her head. Surprisingly, she manages to get rid of the belt from her head because it turns out LLOYD lifted her curse. Selen then realizes that LLOYD is her soulmate. At the military registration center, many people are gathering. Melfin, as the recruiter states, it is for the country's peace that they scout more people. Outside, there is RIHO FLAVIN, the one-armed female mercenary. She is known to have a bad reputation with her employer. Melfin states if RIHO becomes a soldier, all her warrants will be erased. The nobleman who bumped into Selen also joins. The man named ALLAN TOIN LIDOCAINE comes from a reputable family. There he is arguing with Selen. Melfin states he can offer him a commissioned officer position. LLOYD is sitting next to RIHO. RIHO realizes LLOYD is not an average human. RIHO is afraid that LLOYD attacks her, but he greets her and introduces his name politely. Just then, Selen comes, pushing RIHO away. She starts showing her feeling to LLOYD. Finally, the martial arts test begins. They have to hit the dummy with their weapon. RIHO is curious about LLOYD, but Melfin doesn't know him because he is a volunteer. Finally, it is LLOYD's turn, but Melfin has to leave. In Marie's place, Alka appears and they start arguing. They then discuss COLIN village, which is known as the last dungeon. Even though LLOYD feels he is a nerd, he is much stronger than average humans. But unfortunately, LLOYD didn't pass the test to join the army. In the military center, the cadets who have passed the test are gathered in one room by COLIN. There, RIHO and Selen are confused as they cannot find LLOYD anywhere. RIHO takes a glance at Melfin, but the man is also looking for LLOYD. COLIN then asks Melfin to say something to the cadets. Startled, Melfin asks the people who are not present to raise their hands. It surprises COLIN and he slaps Melfin on the face. They then distribute the pamphlet to the students. COLIN explains that the AZAMI kingdom is on the brink of a war with the Jew Empire. But Melfin is worried that their military force is weak without LLOYD. RIHO also regrets the situation. Meanwhile, Selen is depressed that she turns like a ghost. In front of them, COLIN explains one of the problems is the disappearance of Marie AZAMI from the kingdom. Thus, whoever can find the princess, he or she will be given many prizes and will be promoted. On the other hand, LLOYD is strolling around the capital. He is disappointed that he failed the test. LLOYD flicks off a giant grasshopper which attacks him. He then reads a job vacancy and he goes to a cafe to apply for the position. Suddenly, a man comes and attacks him. The man feels a great power in LLOYD and he thinks LLOYD will kill him. But LLOYD states he only wants to apply for the job. LLOYD explains he can do cooking and cleaning, but the man assumes it is for killing and body disposal. The man sees LLOYD as an enemy. LLOYD then demonstrates his skill in making risotto. LLOYD tells him he just failed to get into the military academy, while the villagers had a party to send him off. He is shy to return to his village, and he is determined to stay in the capital until the entrance test next year. In the military academy, Melfin looks at LLOYD's written test result. His answers look ridiculous. Melfin states LLOYD is an idiot and deserved failing, but COLIN realizes that LLOYD's answers are ancient rune characters. Angry, COLIN asks them where LLOYD is, but RIHO and Selen don't know where he is. In the cafe, LLOYD has done making risotto. It looks delicious, but the man still thinks that LLOYD will kill him when he is off guard. The man called MOLYBDENUM finally challenges himself and starts eating the food. In the academy, COLIN explains the ancient runes. With the combination of skills and magic, the ancient runes can achieve extraordinary things. Melfin states he interrogated the testing officer, and from the interrogation, Melfin found out LLOYD only knows magic to make rainfall. COLIN explains LLOYD has exceptional magic energy. In the cafe, Chrome just finished the risotto. He is surprised that the food is safe and extremely delicious. Finally, Chrome accepts LLOYD to work there, but he still won't let the dangerous boy roam. In the academy, Selen states she will find Princess Marie so that she can ask to enroll LLOYD in the academy, but RIHO wants to get a lot of money from it. In Marie's house, LLOYD admits he failed the test. Alka then threatens to destroy the AZAMI kingdom, but LLOYD prevents her and tells them he will try again next year. Alka asks LLOYD to come home, but he refuses. He asks to stay a little longer in Marie's house until the test next year. Finally, Marie and Alka allow him to stay there. Later, Marie asks Alka to save the kingdom and reports the situation. Marie explains that currently King AZAMI is supporting the war, and the provocateur will announce the war in the upcoming festival. Marie states she cannot let this happen. However, Alka declines and states she will only step in if there is an unreasonable problem for the citizens, like the appearance of the demon lord or a major catastrophe. And if it is just about the fight over ego, she and Kunlun villagers will not help the kingdom. Marie has been aware of that. Therefore, 5 years ago she learned the disenchant rune from Alka. He also wants to find the provocateur, but Alka reminds her not to rush, and she tells her if Lloyd is involved in this matter, Alka will take him back to Kunlun village. Alka leaves and Marie curses her, calling her lowly grandma. As a result, Alka puts the misfortune curse on Marie again because of that. Marie is pissed off and she throws the crystal ball into the well. In Chrome's cafe, RIHO and Melfin discuss about Lloyd. RIHO suggests that COLIN should look for Lloyd because they have a serious relationship. Melfin realizes that the cafe is getting more popular, the food is also tastier, and the room is clean. Melfin explains to RIHO that Chrome used to be the head of the royal guard and the personal escort to Princess Marie. Finally, their foods are ready. They devour the foods because they taste good. Lloyd then comes out, surprising Melfin and RIHO. They ask Chrome how Lloyd could work for him. But as usual, Chrome assumes that Lloyd will kill him. Chrome then asks them why they failed the excellent boy in the test. Outside, Lloyd looks at the pile of garbage. Suddenly, a giant grasshopper appears, but Lloyd throws it away. As he walks, Lloyd spots Marie going into a dark alley. Other cadets are also seen going into the alley while talking about the riots in the capital center. Meanwhile, ALLAN and COLIN are arguing. ALLAN feels whatever COLIN does is only ruining the reputation of the nobleman. ALLAN attacks COLIN, but COLIN's belt suddenly moves like tentacles and blocks the attack. She realizes it was because of Lloyd's power. Suddenly, Lloyd arrives, and COLIN overreacts and approaches him immediately. Melfin and COLIN come to stop them, but Melfin tells ALLAN about Lloyd, and COLIN asks them to fight. RIHO is worried that ALLAN will die. However, Melfin states ALLAN is strong and ALLAN offers Lloyd to hit him first. Everyone panics, but before Lloyd hits ALLAN, a twister strikes and pulls Lloyd. It turns out Marie created the twister, and Lloyd lands on the roof. Marie scolds Lloyd, who almost killed someone, but Lloyd thanks her for saving him. Marie keeps nagging at him, but Lloyd innocently and cutely apologizes. Chrome is looking at them from below. He then asks Lloyd to go back to the cafe. Finally, he gets to meet Marie again, the princess he escorted. Chrome explains after Princess Marie disappeared, he quit the position of the head of the royal guard. Marie is sure that the provocateur will show up and manipulate the king, so they still have time to capture the provocateur. However, Marie doesn't know who the provocateur is, and she asks Chrome to help. In the academy, Melfin is observing the training regimen. Colin wonders why Melfin is always serious when dealing with the kingdom. Melfin then tells Colin about his past. In his childhood, the village where he was born was experiencing famine. At that time, the Jew Empire came and attacked the village. Melfin promises that the incident would never happen again. Elsewhere, COLIN and RIHO have lost track of Lloyd. They go to meet Marie, the East Side Witch, but are surprised to find Lloyd welcoming them. RIHO mocks COLIN because COLIN claims to be his soulmate, but she doesn't know where he lives. RIHO realizes Lloyd to remove COLIN's belt. Marie arrives and is surprised to see they have guests. COLIN introduces herself with a scary aura. Apparently, she is jealous of Marie. COLIN and RIHO want to ask Marie about the princess. Marie feels awkward, making RIHO suspicious. COLIN asks Marie seriously. Marie is afraid that COLIN recognizes that she is the princess. It turns out COLIN asks her if she is Lloyd's wife. However, Marie accidentally admits that she is the princess, but then she denies it. The three girls then discuss the matter. RIHO and COLIN want to find the princess so that Lloyd can enroll in the academy. Marie then offers them to exchange information about the kingdom. Lloyd suddenly shows up and tells them he knows Marie's identity. But he calls Marie the savior. From what he sees, he is sure that Marie wants to save the kingdom. Lloyd also doesn't realize that Marie is the princess. Lloyd asks to join her in protecting the kingdom, but Marie declines him and states he is not strong enough. The boy is disappointed and feels sad about that. After Lloyd leaves, Marie takes off her hat and admits that she is Marie AZAMI, the princess of the kingdom. RIHO and COLIN are mad at Marie because she rejected Lloyd, who is very strong. Marie then explains about Kunlun village, which is called the Legendary Dungeon. Kunlun villagers, including Lloyd, are not allowed to get involved in the kingdom matter. Marie also explains about the competition to look for her. The condition to find her dead or alive makes her cannot move freely. Finally, COLIN and RIHO agree to help her. In his room, LLOYD holds the book SHOMA gave him. He is sad that he cannot be a strong soldier like his brother. On the roof, Marie is thinking about the kingdom. She hopes she can release her father from the influence of the provocateur with the disenchant rune. Just then, Alka appears. Initially, she thanks Marie that Marie didn't involve LLOYD in the issue, but she is mad at her because she threw the crystal ball into the well. Thus, she puts a curse on Marie that she will end her sentence with a meow when she speaks. In the city, RIHO and COLIN are interrogating a man. The man states he knows who ordered him to look for Princess Marie. He explains the guy kept saying it is for the peace of the kingdom. The festival finally begins. Alka realizes that LLOYD is still sad about Marie's refusal, but she likes to see him gloomy. She then tries to make him cheerful again and enjoy the festival. Alka tells LLOYD she wants to eat a chocolate banana, and suddenly several giant grasshoppers appear and make a commotion in the festival. Meanwhile, in the kingdom, Chrome asks to be reinstated to military service. Melfin states the king must have accepted him and tells Chrome to wait. Chrome tells him about his encounter with Marie and his suspicion of the provocateur, which has influenced the king, including the phrase the provocateur often says about the peace of the kingdom. He says that the person who has influenced the king is Melfin. Finally, the silver-haired man admits it and calls the king a fool. He won't let the Jew Empire do anything they please. Suddenly, RIHO and COLIN appear in the kingdom. Marie also joins them. Immediately, they engage in a fight. Suddenly, the king shows up and he admits he was the person who made Melfin's village attacked. The king then turns Melfin into an insect man. Chrome, RIHO, and COLIN try to withstand Melfin's attack. Meanwhile, Marie gets into the castle and fights the king. They have a great fight, but the king has Marie cornered. The king is about to finish her off. Marie then remembers she had not apologized to LLOYD. Finally, the king admits that he is Abaddon, the demon lord. In the festival, several giant grasshoppers make a ruckus, and LLOYD flicks them out. LLOYD wonders where the monsters are, but then he realizes that the giant grasshoppers are the monsters the townspeople are talking about. LLOYD then asks permission from Alka to let him help Marie. Although he is not allowed and is weak, he insists to help her. Marie recalls Alka's words that Kunlun villagers will only help if it is related to the demon lord. Marie is angry as Abaddon admitted just now. Abaddon tries to scare her, but Marie gets angrier even more. If she knew from the start, she didn't need to argue with LLOYD. Marie runs away and Abaddon chases her. She wants to meet LLOYD and Alka. On the way, LLOYD encounters a giant grasshopper, and he flicks it out again. ALLAN hides from the monster. He is ashamed of LLOYD for being afraid of fighting the monsters, but LLOYD comforts him, saying that he is the one who failed the academy test. A giant grasshopper is back to attack, but again, LLOYD flicks it out, sending it flying. In the sky, ALLAN sees a huge magic seal which turns out to be Alka's seal. Alka realizes her enemy this time is Abaddon, the demon lord. Alka uses her magic and makes the meteors fall, annihilating all the grasshoppers. On the other hand, RIHO and Chrome are cornered by Melfin's attack. COLIN charges forward, but she asks Melfin to attack her instead. She thinks that LLOYD will come to save her if she is attacked. Therefore, Melfin attacks her, but her belt suddenly moves and withstands his attack. COLIN becomes excited thinking that the belt is the thread of her destiny with LLOYD. Finally, LLOYD shows up. COLIN wants to hug him, but LLOYD approaches Chrome instead. Melfin charges forward, but LLOYD flicks him on the head, causing him to fall. LLOYD then tells Melfin about the duty of a real soldier. Unexpectedly, his speech brings Melfin, who wants to be a real soldier, back. His monster form disappears and he cries, but LLOYD thinks Melfin was drunk and attacked the people. Because LLOYD calls him drunk, Melfin transforms back into a monster. Melfin then attacks LLOYD, but LLOYD easily sends him flying and bouncing like a ball. LLOYD wants to search for Marie, but she shows up and hugs him. From behind, Abaddon appears and is about to attack, but LLOYD thinks he is also drunk. Meanwhile, Marie takes the chance to look cool. She said she was fighting the monster, but a guy in a king costume came and harassed her. Apparently, Marie intentionally said that to make LLOYD use his ancient rune. Finally, LLOYD makes an ancient rune character, and he approaches Abaddon, the demon lord. Abaddon releases an energy ball, which LLOYD destroys. LLOYD then wipes the king's body and releases him from Abaddon's influence. LLOYD then comes to Marie and wipes her hand, lifting her meow curse. Seeing that, COLIN becomes jealous even more. Finally, the festival runs without a hitch. Suddenly, LLOYD meets SHOMA at the festival. SHOMA states he is proud of LLOYD, who had defeated ABADDON. LLOYD wonders how he knew about that. Suddenly, Alka appears while bringing a chocolate banana. In the academy, Chrome has become a soldier again. He teases Colin, who is worried about Melfan. Colin kicks him and tells him she is his senior. Chrome explains Melfan was sent by the royal family for forced labor. It turns out that he was sent to COLIN village. Alka saves him from a giant bunny. Melfan is asked to help in the wheat fields. Melfan then realizes the person who saved him from hunger back then was Alka, and he feels moved by the fact. In Marie's house, Alka asks her if she wants to return to the kingdom, but Mary states she feels comfortable there and she doesn't want to be a princess anymore. Just then, LLOYD shows up. He is wearing a soldier uniform. Marie wonders who recommended him to get into the academy. RIHO and COLIN come to fetch him, but COLIN and Alka are jealous of each other. Alka is going to put a curse on COLIN with a stomach ache and diarrhea, but COLIN's belt stops her. Alka realizes that the belt is from the skin of VRITRA, the divine beast in COLIN. Later, ALLAN comes to pick LLOYD up. It turns out that ALLAN is the one who recommended LLOYD to join the academy. He decided not to get promoted, but he got LLOYD into the academy instead. He even asks LLOYD to be his master. They even fuss with each other, which makes Marie angry. Marie then throws Alka back into the wardrobe. She also orders the others to head out to the academy. The scene then shows LLOYD, Marie, and Chrome, who are on the way to the place where the divine sword is stuck in a stone. Upon their arrival, they meet the materialistic chief of the village. The divine sword area has turned into a tourist attraction. The chief of the village needs abundant magic energy to draw out the divine sword. Certainly, LLOYD manages to get the swords out of the stone easily. The chief is astounded and scared that his business is closed down soon. Chrome and Marie are sure that the chief of the village will make a replica of the divine sword so that his business will keep going. Therefore, they must announce the withdrawal of the divine sword immediately. The next day, LLOYD and his friends at the academy undergo very hard physical training. LLOYD enjoys the training, while his friends are exhausted. In the classroom, RIHO feels exhausted due to the training and feels relieved that the next class is a theory class and he can get to sleep. Suddenly, Colin appears in the class and announces there will be no more theory class, much to RIHO's surprise. It turns out there will be a competition between AZAMI Magic Academy and Rakujo Magic Academy. COLIN and RIHO are curious about healing magic. The healing magic is very hard, and they must practice it to master the healing magic. Coincidentally, ALLAN shows up. COLIN immediately beats him up so that they can use him to practice the healing magic. Meanwhile, Marie is relaxing when two girls from Rakujo Academy come. They are MENA QUINONE and QUINONE. They ask Marie if she knows about RIHO. Just then, LLOYD comes home, and Philo launches deadly kicks at him. However, LLOYD stands still unaffected by the kicks. Philo is surprised to see LLOYD unaffected. She thinks that he should have died due to kicks. Thus, Philo grows interested in him and wants LLOYD to be her master. She even doesn't mind living there with LLOYD, but Marie is angry with them and kicks them out. The next morning in the training session, the principal of Rakujo Academy comes with MENA and Philo. She is CALCIFE, who turns out to be Colin's rival. There, Roll approaches RIHO and tells her to return to Rakujo Academy. She threatens RIHO that her loved ones will die if she doesn't return and states she will be waiting for RIHO's answer until the competition starts. Philo approaches LLOYD and tells him that she is also waiting for his answer. Since that day, RIHO changes and looks sullen. LLOYD wonders what is going on with her, but he doesn't dare to ask her. Meanwhile, COLIN is annoyed as LLOYD is concerned about RIHO that much. That night at dinner, LLOYD tells Marie that there is a friend he wants to cheer up, but he doesn't know how. Marie then advises him to ask his friend to go on a date, and he can talk to her alone. LLOYD agrees and is excited about the idea. The following day, LLOYD asks RIHO to go on a date, making COLIN feel jealous. RIHO accepts his invitation. Later, they go to a cafe. Curious, COLIN decides to follow them. When they are alone, LLOYD asks RIHO to tell him her problem. RIHO then tells LLOYD that she used to live in an orphanage and didn't have any friends until Roll came and they became close. One day, Roll came and brought her an artificial arm from Mithril. Thanks to the arm, RIHO's power grew strong. It turns out Roll did that so that RIHO can draw out the divine sword. The artificial arm is indeed strong, but it is also dangerous. It can absorb her own and the other's magic. In other words, if someone touches her arm, he or she will certainly die. Because she didn't want to be Roll's puppet, she decided to run away. That time, LLOYD casually touches RIHO's mithril arm, and surprisingly nothing happens to him. LLOYD then asks RIHO to trust him. Finally, COLIN shows up after knowing the story. She also tells RIHO to trust her as LLOYD did. The next day, the inter-academy match practice has come. As they are about to start, suddenly, a girl from the second year named MICONA appears. She will take LLOYD's place in the match because she is surely stronger than LLOYD. Everyone agrees with the idea. Apparently, the person who is going to be his rival is Philo. The battle starts, and Zol gets defeated easily. In the afternoon, Zol goes to see Marie to ask her to heal her wound. She is happy to spend time with Marie alone, but suddenly LLOYD shows up, making her annoyed. She gets annoyed even more when seeing Marie and LLOYD getting along and talking about dinner. Finally, the inter-academy match has come. RIHO has made up her mind not to return to Roll. Both sides look intense. Just then, Chrome appears to read aloud the rules of the battle. Moreover, he announces that whoever wins the battle will get the legendary Divine Sword. Roll and RIHO are surprised to find the Divine Sword had been taken. Roll states she also wants to join the battle to win the Divine Sword. Meanwhile, Marie wants to watch the battle secretly. Alka finds it out and forbids her to come. Thus, Alka puts a curse on her that she will get a stomachache once in 10 minutes, so that she won't do anything. Back to the competition, the rules are read aloud. The participants will fight in a one-on-one battle. They can only attack using magic and cannot use physical attacks. They may defend in any way, and those who attack with physical attack will be disqualified. In the first duel, Philo will face COLIN. Philo attacks her with fire magic several times. COLIN has a hard time dealing with Philo because her belt cannot move. After COLIN scolds her belt, it suddenly moves and blocks the attacks. COLIN fights her back using her magic belt to bind Philo's body. However, COLIN is disqualified as she is assumed to use physical attack. In the next duel, MENA fights LLOYD. MENA releases a magic water that confines LLOYD's head. However, LLOYD stands still. The referee asks LLOYD if he gives up, to which LLOYD answers he hasn't given up. MENA then uses her magic to create a whirlpool and surrounds LLOYD with it. It is such a huge whirlpool, and everyone is amazed by it. Meanwhile, LLOYD is still fine. Because his rival is using water magic, he also intends to use water magic. LLOYD attacks from inside the whirlpool. A blast of water shoots up and hits MENA until she is pushed to the edge of the arena. As a result, LLOYD is declared the winner. The next is RIHO's turn to fight against Roll. Both fight intensely, but Roll manages to beat her up. Roll then approaches RIHO and mocks her. RIHO smirks as she intentionally waits for Roll to stand close to her. RIHO stretches out her arm, and a fire blast hits Roll and sends her flying. It turns out RIHO plants fire magic on her arm. After that, she uses water magic to make Roll lose consciousness. As she wakes up, it is already nighttime. She wakes up in bed. She is informed that RIHO and COLIN are nursed, and LLOYD is guarding the Divine Sword alone. She is also informed that the person who took the sword is the East Side Witch, and that she lives with her little brother and is very protective. Roll then tells Philo to look for the witch. Philo heads to Marie's house, and she finds Marie kneeling asking for an apology to a crystal ball. Philo has mistaken the ball for the East Side Witch. Philo then sneaks into the house and steals the crystal ball. LLOYD comes home, and he cannot find Marie. Philo leaves a note to LLOYD, telling him to hand over the sword if he wants the East Side Witch alive. LLOYD is worried as he thinks Marie is kidnapped. Just then, ALLAN shows up, and LLOYD asks him to go with him to look for Marie. Philo returns to Oro, but she is scolded because she brings a crystal ball instead of the witch. Soon after, LLOYD and ALLAN arrive around their place. Philo advances to fight them. LLOYD asks her where Marie is. Philo then states she will tell him Marie's whereabouts if LLOYD can defeat her. LLOYD gives the Divine Sword to ALLAN, while he challenges Philo in an arm wrestling duel. Philo agrees and gets ready to fight him. They start the arm wrestling duel. Their power makes everything around them scatter. They are even sent to the air and keep fighting until they fall, and LLOYD manages to defeat her. Philo starts to catch feeling for him and asks him to marry her. To prevent further issues, LLOYD asks her where Marie is. Philo then explains everything to him, and LLOYD realizes that Marie was not kidnapped. Meanwhile, Alka appears before Roll. Annoyed, Alka attacks Roll and sends her flying into the sky. The holiday is about to start, and RIHO asks LLOYD to go on a date. Meanwhile, COLIN is annoyed because her father told her to go home. On the other hand, ALLAN tells him he is going to do arranged marriage with a noble daughter. RIHO and COLIN have LLOYD out of the classroom because they think ALLAN is talking nonsense. As LLOYD gets home, he sees Alka and Marie arguing. They argue about who will spend the holiday with LLOYD. However, LLOYD has had a plan to work part-time in a hotel. Apparently, Crone suggested he go to the hotel because the owner asked him a favor. The hotel owner, Koba, is waiting for LLOYD outside the hotel. LLOYD suddenly appears behind him and makes him startled. They then enter the luxurious hotel. It turns out Kobayamin used to be a royal guard. Soon after, LLOYD is introduced to a girl named Kikyu. She is LLOYD's senior who started working earlier. Kobayamin asks Kikyu to teach LLOYD the work while he will go for a business. Kikyu talks about cleaning up and the others, and without her knowing, LLOYD has roamed around the room while cleaning up. Kikyu is astounded seeing the room become squeaky clean. LLOYD realizes he forgot about the glass roof. He then rushes to clean it up. Layman comes and he glares at the shiny room. He feels happy and asks him to get changed. Later, a nobleman 3/9 who is supposed to come tomorrow surprisingly comes earlier. Layman states this nobleman is quite hard to deal with. Thus he asks LLOYD to serve him. They enter the nobleman's room and find he is staring at the pine forest through the window. Surprisingly, LLOYD gets along well with the nobleman and they talk about tree logging. Layman feels glad and relieved that LLOYD manages to get the nobleman's attention. The nobleman tells LLOYD that tomorrow his son is going to go there for an arranged marriage with the daughter of another noble. Moreover, his son also studies at AZAMI Academy. Later at night, Kikyu goes to meet 3/9. They talk about the incident in the hotel and try to investigate it. 3/9 suspects several traits live in people's bodies and make them have incredible physical strength. Hearing that, Kikyu suspects LLOYD, and so does 3/9. Thus, Kikyu is asked to give the special medicine to be put in his drink or use as an ointment. Later, Kikyu gives LLOYD a cup of coffee after he finished cooking. But Layman comes and tells LLOYD to rest, and he drinks the coffee instead. Layman spits it out as it doesn't taste good. The following day, RIHO stayed in the hotel. LLOYD goes to her room and she is surprised to find he is there. She doesn't expect the part-time job LLOYD mentioned before to be working in this hotel. On the other hand, COLIN and her father are in the carriage. They are heading to the arranged marriage venue and luxurious hotel. COLIN is annoyed that she is forced to do arranged marriage with someone she doesn't know. Finally, they arrive at the hotel. When her father mentions that her future fiancé is a student of AZAMI Academy, COLIN realizes that the man her father means is ALLAN. They meet 3/9 and have lunch together. 3/9's son is changing clothes and will come soon. As the door opens, LLOYD shows up. COLIN feels happy and hugs him. She then gets to take him and intends to enjoy their time. Suddenly, RIHO shows up and ruins the moment. She then explains to COLIN that her fiancé is ALLAN. Furthermore, she explains ALLAN is found unconscious in his room. Thus, his father asked LLOYD to take his place to meet COLIN's father, and because LLOYD replaced ALLAN, RIHO is in charge of guarding the hotel. After that, they intend to investigate what happened in the hotel. LLOYD and COLIN pretend to be dating while walking around the hotel to look for information about the case. RIHO follows them secretly. In the afternoon, SHOMA comes delivering the order of firebombs. LLOYD is glad to see him as he hasn't seen him for quite a long time. LLOYD then introduces him to RIHO and COLIN. LLOYD also tells SHOMA that he got into AZAMI Academy. After the reunion, SHOMA excuses himself as he wants to return to the village. After that, Kikyu takes the chance to apply the medicine 3/9 gave to LLOYD. However, even after LLOYD's body is applied with the medicine, there are not any traint coming out of his body. COLIN appears and annoyed looking at Kikyu touching LLOYD. They engage in a fight until Kikyu is sent flying into the forest. In the forest, Kikyu encounters Lord 3/9's secretary, Minoki. It is revealed that he is the one who grew traint illegally and let the traint seed live in his body. Minoki states he hates Lord 3/9 and he transforms into a tree monster and attacks Kikyu. Fortunately, LLOYD arrives and saves her. Minoki goes on a rampage and creates several adult traints around them. While he runs away to the hotel, LLOYD defeats the traints easily. On the other hand, Minoki attacked the hotel. COLIN and the gang begin to deal with him. ALLAN has woken up and helps RIHO throw Minoki the firebombs. Unfortunately, COLIN's father is struck down by the rubble. COLIN tries to help him, but she cannot lift the rubble. Just then, LLOYD appears and takes the ruins away. After that, LLOYD manages to defeat Minoki in one strike, and he returns to a human. In the side of the forest, SHOMA gets interested in what is going on. He meets Alka, who is running away because she is naked. They talk for a while, and Alka finds out that Shoma is involved in the case, and Shoma leaves after that. Shoma invites MICONA Zol to meet Grandpa So. It turns out Zol wants to get revenge on Lloyd because he took Marie away from her. So then gives her 2 intense medicine that will give her overwhelming power. Without a doubt, Zol takes the 2 medicine and drinks both of them at once. Instantly, she transforms into a terrifying figure, and she cannot wait to kill Lloyd. The following day, the girls gather at Marie's house. They are assigned to enter a dungeon to defeat a giant snake. Lloyd also wants to do that. Moreover, he feels he is quite inexperienced in dungeons. Elsewhere, Sue is having a conversation with Suma in a cafe. They are talking about dungeons around the area. It turns out he has been targeting the giant snake for a long. Therefore, he must find the snake before the others. In the dungeon, the girls are arguing. They ask RIHO if she likes Lloyd. While the girls are busy talking, Lloyd roams around the dungeon by himself. On the other hand, Marie and Alka fall from above and destroy the ceiling of the dungeon. Alka uses her power and breaks the walls of the dungeon so that they don't need to explore the dark corridors. Meanwhile, Marie goes to the other place. In a certain room, she finds a terrifying treant. There is MICONA Zol in the middle of the treant. Marie asks her why she is there. Seeing her beloved girl comes, Zol feels happy. She says she is waiting for someone to get revenge as there is someone who took away her beloved one from her. Marie asks her who the person is, to which Zol answers Lloyd Belladonna. Marie is shocked that Lloyd could steal someone's boyfriend. Marie then asks Zol whom Lloyd snatched. However, Zol refuses to answer her. She then binds Marie with the roots she is controlling. Shortly after, Lloyd shows up. Zol rages and attacks Lloyd. Both engage in an intense battle. The girls arrive and are surprised to find Zol, who looks like a monster, and fights Lloyd. Moreover, Zol can fight Lloyd equally and even make Lloyd knocked over several times. They fight intensely that the floor breaks down, and they fall underground. Lloyd spins Zol and throws her, breaking the ceiling of the dungeon, and disappears. The girls immediately head to see Lloyd. Unfortunately, there is a giant snake in the room. They are already alert, but the snake is surprisingly tame. The snake introduces itself as VRITRA, the guardian of Kunlun village. Besides, it also maintains Alka's power. VRITRA went to the dungeon because it is angry with Alka. VRITRA explains Alka was going to make an apron with its skin, but she used Excalibur to carve the skin off of its back. VRITRA couldn't accept being treated that way, whereas it is the guardian snake. Shortly after, Alka shows up and VRITRA is sulking with her until Sue suddenly appears and everyone stays alert. It is revealed that he intends to kill VRITRA so that Alka loses her power. Sao jumps and gets on VRITRA's body, and in one strike, Sue manages to kill VRITRA. So laughs as he makes Alka lose her power. Alka rages and attacks Sue until he falls. Sao is confused because Alka still has her power, and so does Alka. It turns out that Selen's belt is the embodiment of the giant snake. Alka recalls when she made an apron with VRITRA's skin, she had leftover skin, and she made a belt and sold it at a low price. Seeing his plan fail, Sue makes a magic circle and decides to run away. In a moment, the dungeon collapses. It is Alka's fault that she broke the walls of the dungeon without considering it. After that, they hurry up leaving the dungeon. The following day, Alka goes to meet the girls. As VRITRA currently lives in Selen's belt, Selen must go with her to Kunlun village. Finally, the journey to Kunlun village begins. Lloyd and the girls, along with Colin and Chrome, head to go through the forest. They arrive in a cave. There is a dwarf girl named Io waiting for them. She then opens a gate and lets them get in. When they arrive in Kunlun village, they find the village is like the common village. However, when they get to the residential area, they are surprised by the villagers' abilities. They can jump very far. Just then, an arrow carrying a message is shot toward a woman named LOKOMO. After reading the message, the woman writes a reply, and she crumples the paper and throws it to the mountain. Selen and the others are shocked to see the woman can throw a paper that far and make the mountain shake. Later, a man is asking LOKOMO to send him to the mountain. The man gets into a cannon and LOKOMO uses magic to fire the cannon. The man is immediately sent to the mountain. Not long after that, an old man is carrying a huge fish. Philo approaches the old man and recognizes he masters the period technique. It turns out Philo has learned the period technique for a long time. Surprisingly, for Kunlun villagers, the period technique is nothing more than morning exercise. After that, they go to Lloyd's house. Selen immediately proposes a marriage offer and is hit by the others. Suddenly, Alka yells through the window, expelling the monster. RIHO takes the chance to show off and fights against the monster, but she is taken aback when seeing a giant dragon coming. However, two boys are throwing a paper plane toward the dragon. Surprisingly, the paper plane breaks its horn. The dragon is frightened and leaves. RIHO is surprised that the boy's skill is far beyond hers. Meanwhile, Colin and Chrome visit Melfin, who works in the wheat field. They chat while discussing the past. Melfin states even though he was controlled, he had a desire to rebel from within. At night, everyone is treated to a sumptuous dinner. Melfin has cooked them delicious dishes with special ingredients such as basilisk flesh and kraken broth. After dinner, Melfin meets Alka and the others. He kneels apologizing for his mistake in the past. Finally, he reveals the mastermind behind his doing in the past. From the characteristics he mentioned, Alka knows the person is Sue. The next morning, Yug invites the party to walk along the forest. After roaming here and there, they finally arrive in front of a magnificent building. Yug explains it is the last dungeon. There are treasures and also the demon lord inside. Alka's power is also connected to the dungeon, and the key that can open the last dungeon is the Holy Sword. Yug is informed that the Holy Sword is in the AZAMI kingdom. Then it is time to return VRITRA to its snake form. Yug asks for Selen's magic belt and proceeds with the ritual. She begins to prepare the ingredients and sears the magic belt, folding and adding it with spices. Everyone is shocked because Yug is cooking instead of resurrecting VRITRA, but Yug explains it is the ritual of resurrecting VRITRA. After everything gets ready, Selen's belt is set aside for 3 hours. When it is finished, Yug prepares a certain specific ball and keeps the belt inside. Thus, VRITRA will begin the process of resurrection. However, it makes Alka weak. Now she is no more than grandma in a 9-year-old girl's body. Yug explains it is the best time if they want to get revenge. After that, they want to return to AZAMI. There is an exhibition match between the two kingdoms, and ALLAN will represent the AZAMI kingdom. Yug wants to see ALLAN competing in a match. Before that, Yug excuses herself as she wants to bid goodbye to the villagers. Selen and the other head to the gate, while Yug and Alka walk to the last place. On the way, Yug traps Alka in a hole in the ground. Yug has planned all of this. She intended to open the last dungeon and release the demon lord inside. Alka then realizes that Suma and Sue are Yug's puppets. After that, Yug closes the hole with a stone and catches up with the others. In front of the gate, Yug tells them Alka doesn't feel fit, and all of them get into the gate. Just then, LLOYD comes and approaches Yug. Yug tells him that Alka is lost, and LLOYD must search for her. Immediately, LLOYD gets to look for Alka, and Yug's plan seems to work accordingly. Yug joins the others in the capital. There, she approaches RIHO and talks about her mithril arm. RIHO starts to get suspicious of her. RIHO then goes to visit Roll, who is still being treated. RIHO asks Roll, who told her to get the Holy Sword. Roll then mentions several characteristics of the person who resembles Sue. Moreover, she mentions a small child that was with the man. RIHO suspects Yug is the small child. After that, RIHO and the gang head to meet the king. She reports that the AZAMI kingdom is in danger, and they have to cancel the friendly match. Chrome assures the king that he can trust the girls. That night, LLOYD finally finds Alka. He immediately rescues her and takes her away. But unfortunately, LLOYD is informed that the gate that connects to AZAMI has been destroyed. Yug must have planned this so that LLOYD cannot come on time to thwart her evil plan. The friendly match is held the next day. King AZAMI sits next to the representative of Jew Kingdom Sue. In the match arena, ALLAN is ready to fight the hooded figure. It turns out the hooded person is MICONA Zol, and she goes berserk and beats ALLAN. After that, Yug appears and joins the match. He creates hundreds of grasshoppers that attack everyone. But surprisingly, the AZAMI kingdom is ready. All the spectators are the soldiers and the mercenaries in disguise. On the other hand, LLOYD is ready to get thrown by the villagers. Alka tells LLOYD to do what he was told after he arrives in AZAMI. After that, LLOYD is thrown far away. Meanwhile, Sue asks King AZAMI to take him to the place where the Holy Sword is. Halfway, Sue reveals his true identity, who is the manifestation of ancient runes. Long ago, when the world was in turmoil, Alka created a hero using runes to bring peace. The hero was Sue, but after the world returned to peace, he didn't disappear, and after several years he decided to search for another hero while he must kill Alka. Thus, he won't be a hero again and disappears. The figure of hero he is looking for is LLOYD. At the same time, LLOYD appears from the sky into the battle arena. He wants them to return the VRITRA retaining ball, but Yug refuses. Instead, she makes a golem and puts Zol inside. Lloyd then tries to take down the golem, which has great regeneration skills, until when Zol is lured with Marie's panties, Zol finally leaves to get the panties. The golem immediately collapses. Meanwhile, Selin gets to obtain the virtual retaining ball. After she scolds the ball, VRITRA awakens in its belt form. Not long after that, Alka appears there and annihilates all the grasshoppers with her power. As the situation turns dire, Sue suggests that Shoma and Yug leave, and the situation is handled in the meantime. Thank you for faithfully watching content from this channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our content. See you in the next video.